INFJs approach relationships with deep idealism and intensity, and because of this, it's quite challenging sometimes to see a partner who is on the same wavelength with them. When they finally meet someone who resonates with them on every level, it's as if their inner world is suddenly mirrored back at them. The INFJ may initially feel overwhelmed by the depth of the bond. Known for being guarded and slow to open up, they may struggle with vulnerability at first. But with the right person, someone who is emotionally intelligent, trustworthy, and open, they begin to drop their defenses. The INFJ's usual cautious nature melts away, replaced by a growing sense of certainty and peace. This connection doesn't feel like falling in love in the conventional, dramatic sense. Rather, it feels like coming home. Emotionally, the INFJ experiences a remarkable shift. Their feelings, which they often keep hidden, start to pour out with sincerity and courage. They become fiercely loyal and devoted, placing the well-being of their partner at the center of their emotional life. This doesn't come from a place of neediness, but from a genuine desire to nurture and support the one they love. The INFJ gives not to get, but because it's who they are when they trust completely. Empathy becomes more than just a trait. It turns into an active, daily expression of love. Check out our newly released INFJ Playbook. The link is in the description of this video. Spiritually, this connection can be transcendent. INFJs are intuitive idealists, often attuned to the unseen threads that bind people together. When they find someone who speaks the same emotional language, it often feels fated or synchronistic. They may reflect on how their paths seem to converge at just the right time, almost as if it were orchestrated by something greater than themselves. The relationship becomes a shared journey of meaning, growth, and mutual discovery. Conversations go beyond surface-level interests and dive into existential questions, personal dreams, and shared visions of the future. Mentally, their creativity and imagination are energized. INFJs, though inward and private, are deeply visionary people. When in love with the right person, their inner world expands. They are more inspired to create, to dream aloud, and to explore life's mysteries alongside their partner. This intellectual companionship is a major part of what keeps the bond alive for them. They don't just want someone to go on dates with, they want someone to share a life of purpose with. In the INFJ's alone moments, the presence of the one brings deep emotional security. Loneliness, something INFJs are intimately familiar with even when surrounded by people, starts to dissipate. They feel seen in ways they never thought possible, and their emotional intensity no longer feels like too much. They no longer carry the burden of feeling misunderstood or out of place. This acceptance opens the INFJ's heart in a way that brings lasting transformation. They become more grounded, more open, and often more forgiving of their own imperfections. When an INFJ finds the one, the relationship affects how they relate with the world. INFJs are often idealists with an aching sensitivity to the pain and injustice around them. But when they're with someone who understands them fully, who listens with both heart and intention, their empathy becomes less of a burden and more of a shared purpose. The INFJ feels strengthened, no longer carrying the weight of their inner world alone. The presence of the one brings a kind of sacred refuge, a place to rest emotionally, where their often busy inner voice finds quiet. In love, INFJs are not casual. They love with the entirety of their being. When they have found the one, they invest fully, offering their time, their dreams, their hopes, and their emotional depth in full measure. They listen intently, remember the smallest details, and support their partner's journey as if it were their own. Their love is not loud, but it is fierce. It is the kind of love that shows up every day, that sees through the messiness, that forgives easily and loves deeply, even when words are hard to find. The INFJ's gift of insight becomes even more pronounced in this space of true connection. They anticipate needs, sense unspoken feelings, and intuitively understand the deeper motivations behind their partner's words and actions. With the one, this gift isn't something they have to restrain or hide. It is welcomed, valued, and often reciprocated. This mutual recognition of each other's depths creates a strong emotional resonance, where both partners feel seen and understood beyond surface-level understanding. Over time, the INFJ's emotional walls, built over years of misunderstanding or emotional disappointment, come down entirely. With the one, they can be raw, open, and utterly themselves, no longer needing to translate their feelings into palatable pieces. There is no longer the fear of being too much or too intense, because their love is met with equal intensity, honesty, and care. This acceptance becomes an emotional homecoming, something the INFJ may have craved for most of their life without even knowing it. The relationship also becomes a mirror, reflecting the INFJ's highest potential. With the one by their side, they are encouraged to grow, not through pressure, but through love. They are reminded of their strengths when they forget them, and gently held when they falter. The INFJ, always drawn to personal development and growth, flourishes in this kind of supportive environment. Their idealism transforms into action, their vision finds clarity, and their quiet confidence begins to shine outward. There's also a rare sense of spiritual alignment. INFJs often have a mystical or philosophical streak, whether through religion, nature, art, or deep contemplation. When they find someone who shares or honors this spiritual inclination, the relationship becomes more than just a partnership. It becomes a path. Together, they explore meaning, ask the big questions, and build something that feels both timeless and sacred. Their love becomes an act of worship in the most grounded and human sense, rooted in presence, intention, and awe. Even in moments of silence, the INFJ feels connected. There's a comfort in simply existing in the same space as the one they love. The stillness holds weight. The shared glances carry layers of meaning. There's no need to constantly speak or explain. The relationship matures into something calm and enduring, where the bond doesn't demand attention. It just is ever present and deeply rooted. When an INFJ finds the one, life doesn't become perfect, but it does become more whole. The world begins to feel more navigable, not because hardships disappear, but because they are no longer faced alone. The INFJ finds courage in this partnership, courage to trust, to act, to create, and to simply be. And though they may always carry their introspective nature and emotional intensity, those things are no longer heavy. In love, those traits become their superpowers, because now they're shared, understood, and cherished. When an INFJ finds the one, love becomes a sanctuary, a place where the walls of their carefully protected inner world soften and dissolve. This isn't just someone they can talk to, it's someone they can unfold for. The INFJ, who often spends so much time absorbing the energy of others and filtering their emotional reactions, finally finds someone with whom they don't have to filter at all. They are no longer managing the emotional temperature of a room. They're simply existing within a space of mutual resonance. That stillness, that equilibrium, is a revelation. This relationship becomes the rare place where the INFJ doesn't feel like a puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit. Their paradoxes, the analytical mind paired with intense emotion, the deep empathy paired with solitude, the yearning for connection paired with the fear of losing themselves, are all welcomed, not questioned. Their complexity isn't just tolerated, it's seen as beautiful. This kind of full-spectrum acceptance is rare, and when the INFJ finds it, they treasure it with quiet devotion. With the one, the INFJ finally stops scanning for red flags, reading between lines, and predicting outcomes. That hypervigilance, so natural to a type who senses the undercurrents in every interaction, begins to quiet. They begin to trust the steadiness of the connection. This doesn't mean they stop being intuitive or perceptive, but their energy no longer goes toward protecting themselves. Instead, it flows into nourishing the relationship, into creating something lasting and sacred. And when they love in this way, it is sacred. The INFJ doesn't give love in pieces. They offer it whole, as a quiet vow made over and over again. In every gesture, every late-night conversation, every moment of presence, they are reaffirming that commitment. It's not flashy or performative. It's subtle and steady, like water shaping stone. Their love deepens over time, becoming less about intensity and more about integration. The INFJ weaves their partner into the tapestry of their inner life, into their thoughts, their hopes, their future plans. Their partner becomes part of every narrative the INFJ holds about their purpose, their path, and the life they're building. What's especially striking is the way the INFJ's inner voice transforms in the presence of true love. Often their inner monologue is full of questioning. Am I too much? Am I enough? Am I understood? But when they're truly seen and loved, the voice begins to shift. It softens. It says, "You are safe now. You are loved here, just as you are." This inner healing can be quiet and slow, but it is profound. The INFJ becomes less self-critical, more forgiving, more confident in their right to take up space emotionally and spiritually. This love also strengthens their sense of mission in the world. INFJs are often driven by a quiet calling, to help, to heal, to guide. With the right partner, this mission becomes clearer and more actionable. They are supported in their purpose, encouraged to follow the paths that matter to them. Their partner doesn't just support their dreams, they often become a collaborator in them, whether that means emotional support or shared values and goals. The relationship becomes an anchor from which the INFJ can reach even farther into the world with courage. Conflict, when it arises, is handled differently in this kind of relationship. INFJs often avoid confrontation, not out of fear, but because they feel deeply responsible for emotional harmony. But with the one, they learn that conflict doesn't mean danger. They learn that love can hold disagreement, can hold difficult truths, can bend without breaking. Their partner's steadiness helps them speak honestly without fear of hurting or being hurt. Vulnerability becomes a doorway, not a threat. There's also a profound sense of time changing for the INFJ. With the right person, there's less urgency to rush through life. The INFJ becomes more present, more grounded. Simple moments, sitting in silence, exchanging glances, preparing a meal together, take on extraordinary significance. The mundane becomes meaningful. Their usual future-oriented mind starts to settle into the now, because the now is finally enough. Eventually, the INFJ may look back and realize that this love didn't complete them. It allowed them to be complete in the open. It didn't erase their solitude, it honored it. And it didn't change who they are. It brought out the most luminous parts of who they've always been and gave them permission to shine. When an INFJ finds the one, it's not just about falling in love. It's about being truly met. It's about stepping into a space where their soul can exhale, where their love can land without fear, and where their deepest longings for understanding and connection are no longer distant wishes, but a living, breathing reality. With the one, it often feels less like a collision and more like a quiet unfolding, like dawn gradually breaking over a long, dark night. It's not always dramatic or loud. In fact, it's often marked by a kind of stillness, a sacred familiarity, as though they've known this person in another life or another version of themselves. There's a sense that, at last, someone speaks the same inner language, a silent resonance between hearts that doesn't require explanation. Emotionally, this bond peels back layers the INFJ may have kept buried for years. INFJs are masters of containment, often holding their pain quietly, processing their emotions internally, rarely exposing the rawest parts of themselves. But with the one, there is safety in that exposure. They begin to speak the truths they've never said aloud. Not just the poetic, polished versions of their feelings, but the unguarded ones, the confusion, the insecurity, the longing. And what makes this so profound is not just the speaking of those truths, but the fact that they are received without judgment. This receiving is essential. INFJs crave reciprocity, not in a transactional way, but in a soul-level exchange of authenticity. When they give of themselves, it's with care, purpose, and depth. When they receive the same back, when their partner listens with their whole presence, when they're considered, not just heard, they come alive. There is nothing more nourishing to an INFJ than emotional presence. And when they have it, consistently and without condition, it becomes a source of emotional nourishment they never even realized they were starving for. In this kind of relationship, the INFJ also experiences a sense of belonging that is rare for them. INFJs often feel like outsiders, even when surrounded by people. They're the quiet observers, the deep thinkers, the ones who see beneath the surface while others stay above. They carry a quiet grief at not being truly known. But in the arms of the one, that grief lifts. They feel seen, not in fragments, not in projections, but in the full, rich complexity of who they are. Their strangeness becomes beauty. Their depth becomes connection. Their silence becomes shared stillness. This level of emotional intimacy can bring healing that ripples far beyond the relationship itself. INFJs tend to carry old wounds of being misunderstood, of giving too much and being left empty, of being judged for their sensitivity. But the right partner doesn't just avoid reopening those wounds. They help close them, not by fixing, but by staying, by showing up, by making it safe to feel again and again. Sexually and physically, this connection can also take on a spiritual quality. For INFJs, intimacy isn't just physical, it's emotional, energetic, and symbolic. When trust is established, physical affection becomes a form of emotional expression. Every touch becomes layered with meaning. They crave more than contact. They crave communion. And when they find it, it's not about performance or perfection. It's about presence. It's about being fully known, body and soul. There's also a deep sense of peace that begins to take root. INFJs often live with a quiet restlessness, the feeling that something's missing, that they're searching for a home they've never quite found. When they meet the one, that search doesn't just pause, it concludes. Not because life becomes perfect, but because they've found someone to walk with. Life's uncertainties, once heavy and isolating, now feel shared. They no longer have to carry the weight of the world alone. Someone is holding it with them, not to take it away, but to say, I'm here too. This kind of relationship doesn't come without challenges. INFJs may still wrestle with perfectionism or the fear of losing the deep bond they've finally found. But with the right partner, someone who loves them through their complexity and reflects back the same level of emotional investment, they're willing to face these fears. Growth becomes a shared endeavor. Even their flaws are seen as opportunities for mutual understanding rather than threats to the relationship. When an INFJ finds the one, love is no longer a distant ideal. It becomes tangible, soulful, and anchored in both emotional truth and spiritual alignment. It's not about being completed, but about being fully met, mind, heart, and soul. In such a union, the INFJ doesn't just survive, they bloom. Check out our newly released INFJ playbook. The link is in the description of this video.